Okay, great question. So if you're an AE or an SDR, or even a full cycle sales rep, you want to be looking at triggers. So let's say, has the company received any funding, right? Have they had a recent expansion? Have they increased revenue or headcount? Have they expanded into a new area? I think I just said that. Have they had an M&A? Are they posting? What job posts are they putting out there? What does their 10K report say? Have they had a new product launch? Have they got an upcoming conference or event? Or have they put out a social media post, or as one of the personas that you're trying to reach put out a social media post? And what I would do, so let's say you are targeting marketing directors and then sales enablement directors, you want to focus on those one personas. So what I would do in your research, and if you're using SalesNav, is put them all into that same list, get them into an Excel. So when you're doing that kind of, and also the type of company. So if you say, okay, this is a trigger, it's a funding round, here are all the VPs that I need to speak to, the companies that had a funding round, put them all into that same group and prospect to them, create a cadence with, like, don't be mixing up your persona types or your company types, because that's another way to go wrong. Another thing that I would say as well, this is more when you start your outreach, I like to create 3 different groups in SalesNav. So all those ones that are new, it could be the new VPs who just got funding, or something like that. And then once you get a response from them, if it's a positive response, you put them into another list, which is called in progress. So again, it helps you understand like who's responding to what. And then there's the third one, which is your priority. So you booked a meeting already with these guys, the deal is advancing. The way that I use LinkedIn is different to how a lot of people might use it. And the one mistake I see a lot of salespeople make on LinkedIn is they talk to all of their prospects in the same way. And, that's not going to work, because there's really 3 types of LinkedIn users, or LinkedIn persona types, whatever you want to call them. And I call them tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So the tier 1s are people like me who are hyperactive, right? We're creators or influencers, whatever. We're on LinkedIn all the time. We're commenting on other posts. We're putting out posts pretty much every day. So with people like, me, or people from tier 1, you want to start warming them up with comments. So you want to connect to them, but you might want to drop a few comments on, say, some of their recent posts. Or if they're posting very frequently, go back to some of their older posts and look for a problem that you solve for that they mention. So you want to be talking to them and engaging with them in the comments about that. Look at the posts that they're commenting on. So when you go on their profile, you click on posts to see the posts that they've put out, but you can then click on the comments and see who else they are commenting on, what kind of posts are they commenting on, and show up on those posts with a comment. Again, if it's tied to the problem that your solution solves for, even better, try and find a comment that ties to that. You're obviously not gonna, I don't want you to spend too long doing this, but when you comment on a post that they've commented on, it will show up in their notifications, right? So you've commented on their post, you've commented on the post that they've commented on, and then you send them a connection request. So they're going to know who you are, first off. Once they accept that connection request, you respond with a voice note. Why do we use a voice note? Because they are still so underutilized. They are really underutilized, and it's a great way for you to just say, hey, showcase your person. Thanks for accepting my connection request. Notice you're doing XYZ. How's it going? Or notice that you just switch roles. Looks exciting. How are you finding it? And you can do that in a 10-second voice note, right? For tier 2s are what I call the semi-active. So these are people that post very infrequently. They might post 3 times a week or less than 3 times a week. They tend to show up on other people's posts. So they're sort of commenting more and engaging more on other posts. And again, what I would do with these people is show up on the post that they're commenting on, comment on maybe their most recent post because they're not putting out posts very often, and warm them up over shared interests and topics as well. So, if you're finding it difficult to identify a problem that perhaps your solution solves for in their comments, have a look at their about section or find something out about them. Google their name, if they've been on a recent podcast, or is there anything else that you can find, you can start to warm them up over. So they might be really into AI. You might be really into AI too. Start talking about that. Remember to take the conversation to the DMs, because it's the DMs really where you're going to be booking the meetings. And then for tier 3, so the tier 3 are the hardest of them all. The tier 3 are the lurkers. These are the people, when you go on their profile, all they do is repost, repost, repost. And you're like, oh, and they usually repost and they don't give any context. Or they repost maybe once every 3 months, but these people are the harder ones to engage because they're not showing up on other people's comments, they're not showing up on other posts as much. So again, I would start the conversation on the repost, because normally reposts do not get any kind of engagement. They get very low level of likes and hardly any comments. So if you're showing up on a couple of their reposts, you're going to stand out already. What I would do is take the conversation. So again, they might not accept your connection request for a while. So what I would do when you send that connection request, and there's this whole debate of, do I send it blank? Or for these tier 3 people, you do not send a blank connection request. And again, you want to be very specific about pain. So a pain related statement. And then, if we could solve that, would you be open to a conversation? So get straight into it. Low friction CTA. You're kind of asking for the meeting on this one, but remember, these people are not using LinkedIn in any kind of way that a tier 1 and a tier 2 would. So you can't really engage them in a conversation before you get into the DMs. So that's what I would do with those. And even don't be afraid to mention a case study. I helped somebody scale their business to $30,000 this month. Want to see what that would look like for you? Is this interesting to you? So again, you're using a low friction CTA to try and get some kind of meeting. You're not asking for the meeting directly. Another thing that I see with salespeople, even for the tier 1s and tier 2s, is they spend too much time in the DMs without booking a meeting. So they end up perhaps being too friendly. They're too friendly. They don't move the conversation to, okay, what are the challenges that you're experiencing? What have you done to solve those challenges? Oh, I've done this, that. Okay, what will it mean? What's the goal for you to solve this challenge? If we could help you with that, is it worth, what would it let's explore what it looks like if we work together, what it might look like if we work together. So you want to have that conversation steered in that direction where you're talking about challenges and you're saying, okay, let's jump on a call, might be able to help you solve that. So if you know that you can solve this prospect's problem and they're the right persona, I don't see a problem sending a note with your connection request, because you want to make that person feel nurtured. You want to start the conversation and you want to send a really good one that will make them accept, right? If you get a really good connection request with a note, it's not like, hey, I came across your profile and I see that you're a social seller, so am I, let's connect. No, that's what I get a lot of the time, and I don't accept those. But when it's more personal and sort of related to maybe a point of view, putting a point of view in that connection request note, much more likely to accept it. If you're doing mass outreach on LinkedIn, if you're an AE or an SDR and you really have to send out a lot of connection requests, it's quite difficult to personalize them. So you send a blank one. So yeah, and if you've reached out to them on other channels, You still want to send a connection request, say, hey, I dropped you some notes on email, have a great weekend. So you want to make reference to that so that they think, this is Charlotte, she did send me an email and here she is on LinkedIn. A blank connection request isn't very memorable. The biggest mistakes that I see salespeople make are not disqualifying quick enough, right? It's one I used to make, and it was costly in terms of my time. Make sure you're spending time with the right prospects. Disqualify them quickly. There's a heck of a lot of people who are too polite to say no. What you want to be doing is using your disclaimer and saying, look, you're not going to offend me, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't like this. Some people see this and they just do not like it. Or, some people see this, they have a demo with me and they absolutely love it, right? When we get to the end of the demo, I want you to tell me, which one are you? You're not going to hurt my feelings if you say, this is not right for me, or it's not the right time, or yeah. So give them the permission to say no. And the same when you're on a discovery, you want to, get to the truth as fast as you can. And sometimes the problem that you solve for, that prospect may not have, or it may not be a burning problem. So call it out. Say, look, I'm sensing here that this problem isn't as important to you to solve as what I'd like to think it is. Is this the case here? I hope you don't mind me asking this, and make sure that you're preparing me. You're going to hate me asking this, you're going to hate me saying this, but it seems like this label, it seems like this is not as important to you to solve as at first we initially thought, and get them to say no. The worst thing you can do is spend too much time having the wrong prospects in your pipeline. Nobody wants that. The next thing that salespeople do, they don't stick to the process. The process is really important. You might get somebody super enthusiastic, you get happy ears, you want them to, you think, yeah, they're going to buy, it's great. So you start jumping steps of the sales process. It's like, take them straight to a proposal rather than give them a demo. No, stick to the process or the process. It works. And this is where, when salespeople can get overconfident, complacent, they think that what they do 1 month, maybe the last quarter they went, 200% over quota, and now we're in Q3, we're in Q4, and it's like, well, I don't have to worry. So they stop prospecting. Again, the process, their discipline drops. They might not, you don't always feel motivated. This is the big thing that all the sales leaders talk about. We talk about this. You've got to stick to the process. You've got to be disciplined and do the hard things. You've got to keep prospecting, even if you feel that you've got way too many prospects. So one of the things I recommend on LinkedIn, for example, is the rule of 3. Go to 3 of your followers, 3 of your connection requests, start a conversation. Maybe you put out a post. Go to the people that commented on the post, send them a DM, ask them, say, thank you for commenting on my post. What did you like about it? Or what made you comment that way? Or I agree with what you commented on. Just curious, how is X challenge affecting you right now? Lots of sales leaders are telling me that their teams are not booking enough meetings. So keep those conversations going. Keep doing all of your prospecting, your cold outreach. Make sure that you're, focusing on every hour what you're doing, and that you're planning it out in your calendar as well. Another thing that salespeople do, it's doing the same thing last quarter and expecting different results. So sometimes we get into a rut and think, well, I'll just keep doing this, and it's going to work at some point. But no, you've got to be really leaning into trying new things. Try new things. Send it when somebody accepts a connection request on LinkedIn. Ask if you can send them a video. Nobody's sending videos on LinkedIn. Nobody, virtually nobody. And voice notes is the second thing that people don't focus on. So try and stand out and be a bit different. Another thing I'll say is obviously mindset. So don't let a bad quarter affect your future performance. You really have to dial into that. You're going to have the odd quarter where it's not going to go well. You need to really learn very quickly what went wrong. Another thing I'll say is invest in a coach. You might be getting coaching and training internally at the company that you work for. I would consider investing in a coach yourself for your own development. That really moves the needle. I got to top social seller. I'd never used SalesNav within 6 months within the company out of 307 people. And one of the things that I did differently was that I was coached externally. I got to top performer because I invested in myself and I did coaching. And most of the top salespeople in the organization, you will see them being coached externally. They will put aside the money for it. They'll stop going out. You don't need to go out for dinners, and you need to see your friends and socialize, but there's a limit on that. So think about how you're spending your time and how you can be advancing yourself, because even if you did make quota for the previous quarter, you still need to keep reinventing yourself. Yes, it's the classic, I have no budget, call me next year. It's what people really hate. That's one of the worst ones. The price is not too bad because price can be dealt with, but no budget, that's really down to could be timing. So you need to find out why. I would empathize first off. A lot of salespeople don't empathize enough. It's like totally understand, and then ask questions. I'm just curious. You said this was a really pressing problem to solve, but how do you? I'm taking that this might not be a big as priority as what you told me. Okay. Another thing, how do you plan or make decisions as important as these when there's no budget? I'm just curious here. How do you plan and make decisions as important as these when there's no budget? So we want to find out what it sounds like. It might be something that they want to try and fit into their budget now. So let's ask that open question about how they make these kind of decisions and just let them talk. Another thing when they say they've got no budget, as I said before, it could be that they might have some wiggle room. So you might want to label again, like good old Chris Voss. Sounds like you really want to do this based on what we discussed. This is you liked XYZ. This seems like a problem that you said you wanted to solve it. It was causing, and restate the impact it was causing. And you want to try and make this work. You haven't got the budget now. You might have it next quarter, but you want to try and make this work for now. Again, see what they say, because often it's they want to squeeze into this quarter's budget, don't they, rather than wait. Another thing I would say is look, I totally get it. Most companies don't have budget right now with the economic climate. It's a really tough situation. How about we do this? We jump on a call. You can and if you get this reply on email, we have no budget, pick up the phone. Don't reply on email and try to deal with an objection on email, because you're not going to get a response. Far easier to pick up the phone if you're not on the phone already and find out what's going on. So say, look, how about we meet? You can have a look at this. So just take a 360 on it. I'll give you an educational tour of what we do, and then you're more well informed for when the budget's available, and you're more well informed to make a decision when budgets become available next year. So what you're doing here is you want to take away the heavy lifting. You want to line that person up, or that prospect up, for when the budgets do free up. It could be genuine. They might not have budget until Q1. And this used to happen to me a lot because I sold to governments. Their budget would be really restricted. So I say, look, how about we jump on a call, have a meeting. I'll show you what we've done with some clients like you. You can just have a look at this, see what you think, and then you're well informed. I'm not trying to overload you with this when the budgets do free up. So again, you've got that person, you've got that prospect, you're already sort of top of mind for them. Your solution is top of mind because you've decided to keep the conversation going. You're not saying, oh, well, nah, let's leave it until you've got budget, because then you're a sleazy salesperson. So have the conversation, let them know that there's no budget that they need to get on this call, to come to this meeting. They don't need to make a decision on this call. They're just having a look at what it is that you could help them solve. Yeah, so the best thing here is the first thing that I will say, you're a full cycle sales rep, an AE or an SDR. The best thing to do is listen to what the top performers are doing in your company. Now, listen to their demos, maybe listen to the Gong recordings, get on live demos with them and discovery calls, because then you can you're getting immediate real feedback and seeing what they're doing differently that perhaps you're not. Another thing which is quite novel is approach a salesperson in another company who might be a top performer. You can find these people on LinkedIn, because usually they put, I hit 280% of quota last quarter, and send them a DM and say, hey, what, that's wild. You've done really, really well. I hope you don't mind, but what's the secret to that? Ask them what they're doing. Even get them on a call and just, exchange some tips and tactics, because these are real live salespeople that are in the market, that are prospecting, and the tips, the trends are changing all the time, right? What we do one quarter might not work. That same CTA, worth a conversation. I mean, everybody's using that now. Is that going to work at the end of Q4 or next year? This is the thing, we don't know. Another thing I'll say is keep trying new tactics, and don't be afraid to try new tactics. So sending a video in the LinkedIn DMs, sending more voice notes. It feels horrible if you're not used to it at first. It always does. And sometimes I even now I re-record my voice notes. I record the voice note. You can't play it back on LinkedIn, unfortunately, before you send it. But I think, oh no, I sounded awful. I'll record it again. So it takes a while sometimes to find your feet. And I think this is what puts a lot of salespeople off is, oh, I have to do something new. Oh, I have to record a video. You can now, with the video apps out there, I like SendSpark, for example, you can record the same video and then send that. It's part of your cadence. Okay, it has to be generic. It's not personalized. It's not using AI yet, but so it can't say, hi, Lisa, or hi, Charlotte. It can't actually do that yet, but it's a really good way of standing out. Video is still underutilized. So I'd recommend, trying all the new tactics and really not being afraid of what will happen, right? Also, this is probably what every salesperson does already, listen to podcasts, read the right books. You don't have to read lots of books, but just read maybe 1 to 2 books a month is all you need to do. Set that time aside. Maybe it's the first thing in the morning, maybe it's the last thing in the evening when you want to read that book. Attend webinars. So the Sell Better webinars, for example, really good. There's top performers on there sharing their tactics and sharing their tips. So those are the 3 main things that I would say, but the most important is getting on demos with the salespeople, with your colleagues and people who aren't your colleagues, to really learn from them what it is that they're doing.